Welcome everyone. This is week 1 of learning TouchDesigner, and this will be part of a weekly series where I showcase my progress and my progression learning the TouchDesigner software. The way this is going to work is I've got this Notion weekly tracker where every week I set myself a couple of goals, then I just run through them basically. So every week is going to look like the same sort of template where I've got these goals, I do them, and then I make a little video here on YouTube, another one on Instagram as well, so you can go check that one out as well. And I'm just sort of documenting my progress. Well, I guess I'm starting this out to create a sense of accountability, because I'm forcing myself now to make a video at the end of every week showcasing what I've done. And if I haven't done much, it's kind of embarrassing. I'm gonna be honest with you. One day, who knows, maybe a couple months down the line, I look back and I'm like, damn, I came pretty far. I think it'll be awesome to see my progress down the line to when I'm making my own cool things in TouchDesigner. Hopefully I'm getting paid work or something, I don't know. That might be sort of one of the end goals of this, is to build a portfolio and see where that takes me. But until then, until I can actually make my own stuff, I've got to be learning. So that's what this series is for. In today's quick video, I'm going to show you guys what I covered in the first week. Keep in mind, I have a full-time job, so I do this after work, and that's why there was only one video. And also there's a lot of rewinding, there's a lot of messing around in the software. You'll see when we go through the project file for this tutorial. First things first, we need to shout out this absolute legend. This is the tutorial that I watched, and it's by Acrylicode. Thank you so much to Acrylicode for being my very first experience with TouchDesigner. So I'm gonna go in here into the project file, and I'm gonna show you guys all the little node structures and things that I made, all from that one tutorial. Let's hop into, you'll notice actually, I just did all the node structures one on top of the other, and that's because I actually didn't know how to do these comp files until like halfway through the tutorial. So we just have everything here messy on the board. Look, it's the first project. So this is the first thing the tutorial teaches you how to make. It's quite literally a circle with an edge which has been expanded out, and a ramp in the background, and then a noise which has been animated using an LFO into math. Okay, I don't know what I did, but I need to figure out what that B means. Anyway, we're just gonna move on, because I think I'm breaking everything already. I'm still so far behind in my understanding here. So let's go into the second node structure. This one's a simple 3 circles and LFO. Looks up a ramp pattern, converts it into math, and then feeds it via a null and 2 lags to make this. Yeah, not much else there. Bypass that one there, and let's have a look at this one here. So this one here was the first attempt with 3D and using a camera and a light and a geometry into a render. And we can build this little rotating cube and then a noise adjusted one as well. But we have a sphere and then into noise, as you can see. That's sort of what it ends up looking like, and then into a render sequence with those 3 nodes into the render there. And then we ramp to give a bit of texture to these objects, and the first ever 3D composition, I guess, that I've made. But we'll move on to the next one. So we're looking at assignment 6. This was a really cool one. We once again have a 3D object in which we are animating a twist function on top of it, render it out, and then we have a little edge node as well to pull out the edge there. Next we have a bit of a more complicated 3D composition where we built a couple of different elements, blended them together on top of the grid. It was one of the compositions we also experimented with having a camera tracking a null. So what that means is the camera's always looking at where that null is. Now I've highlighted the camera. You see if I move it across like that, this bit is always staying centered, and it's because the camera is centered around the null in the center of that object. This is all still the very basics of camera work in TouchDesigner. This one's really cool. It's probably one of the more visually interesting ones, especially that background, which was done with a ramp where its phase is animated by an LFO. Then there's noise, which goes on top of it. I have not yet figured out how to make good noise. You can see here it's still pixelated at the very edges, or it's quite rough. I spent a lot of time just messing around with the noise parameters and I still couldn't figure it out. That's definitely something I want to learn. I really want to learn this noise parameter properly. This bit was Python. I don't know how to code Python, so this is very interesting to me. The tutorial covers a bunch of different instances of code. This one here runs off the button and it randomizes this ramp's table values. As you can see, it calls the operator table1, which is table 1 here. It's basically saying that in 1, 1, so we go from rows first in column, so 1, 1, it feeds the value of R1, and R1, as we've defined here, is a random number generator there, random.random. What that does is when I press this button, you can see it's now randomizing the code for that ramp. I think this is more for like building into live and interactive visuals. This one's harder to show because there's really just a button, and then the rest of it was like trying to understand what type of code she was writing. So yeah, I won't spend too much on this one. Next we have components. So the way that components work, so I can basically replicate a sequence just like that. It's like creating a component that you want, and then you can replicate and use that component. And within this particular example, we have, as you can see here, a custom coded ramp phase adjustment. This custom parameter basically goes in and through the displace one, because we've linked it to the parent, you can actually adjust it from outside of the composition. So it's kind of useful if you've built a structure you really like and you just want to adjust a few important parameters from outside of that structure, not have to go in, change the displays, go back out. You can actually just code it so you have the parameters right here. Next we have instancing. This was probably the most interesting section, simply because we made one of the coolest visuals. So here in the geometry viewer, we made this really cool, wacky visuals. This noise is obviously a bit too much. But yeah, this is why I wanted to learn TouchDesigner, because you can just do such cool things like this. And this is the simplest sort of variation that you're looking at right now. It gets way more complicated, and I cannot wait to see what the next couple of weeks have in store. You can use chop operators to translate. Then we have pixel-based operators. You can create a ramp with a 3:1 resolution, and you can create a cube instancing so that it makes a cube for each pixel of the ramp. Then we have sound. Now this is another part where it gets super interesting. So I'm just going to pause that audio there. Sorry for the flashing. I'm actually just going to get rid of those. Basically what this is doing is we are pulling an audio file in, and then we're extrapolating the highs and the lows down here. And then we are essentially coding the radius of that to what it basically extrapolates. Quite interesting, but once again, it's all very basic, and we are going to learn much more about this kind of stuff as we go through more tutorials and progress through the weeks. So that is everything I covered in week 1. I guess just reflecting on everything so far, I think TouchDesigner is a really fantastic software. There's so much to learn. It's such a deep software, and I feel like there's a really high initial learning curve. So we're in it for the long run. This is going to take a while. I can't wait to see what I'm making 1, 2, 3 months in. I think it's going to be really exciting. Let's go into what we're going to be covering next week. I'm going to get started on a TouchDesigner Fundamentals course, and so I've actually saved that here. I was watching a video, and this guy he was like referencing something, opens up this, and this is from Derivative, who make TouchDesigner. They literally just have a full fundamentals course, and it's free. And I can click into it here, and they have videos, you can download the examples. It's basically a full-on course. So I was like, this is perfect. This is going to be the second week's focus. It's also Christmas this week, so I'm going to spend some time with family and my workload is naturally going to be a bit reduced. For that reason, I've only put the fundamentals course and one tutorial replication. If you're excited to see the weekly progression, make sure to follow along because I'll be posting every week, every Monday. There's going to be a new video on this channel and on the Instagram as well. In a couple of months, I'm sure we'll have some radical progression to show. For now, it's the boring, it's the basics. It's where everyone starts when they're learning a new skill or software or whatever it is. This sums up week 1 of my TouchDesigner weekly series. I'll see you guys in the next one.